You have joined 2RRR 88.5 FM Radioactive with Carly Holmes. On the line, we have Jase Ess, Adelaide-born, Lithuanian, German, Scottish descendant. He was born into a musical family. This influence led his commencement into the entertainment industry. He has been in numerous TV commercials, voiceovers and musicals. Jase started working in radio whilst in Adelaide, South Australia, first with 88.5 Coast FM and then for another 6 years with one of Australia's first licensed dance music radio stations, 92.7 Fresh FM. His move to Sydney came about with an opportunity to collaborate on a production with Nick J, and together they released a track, I Don't Give a Damn, which reached number 11 on the ARIA dance charts. Musically, Jase maintains his own personal studio for unleashing his creativity through songwriting and audio recording. And Jase's background has been in the dance music scene over the years and has honed his sound into what he describes as industrial emotion orchestral sounds combined with indie tech. So tonight, Jase and I are going to talk about the psychology of sound and the electronic music scene and where Jase sees the music industry headed in Australia over the next maybe 5 to 10 years. Welcome, Jase.
Thank you, Carly. Thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome.
Hello, 2RRR.
Yeah, hey, it's great to have you on the line on the show tonight.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let's get started, hon. Maybe you can let us all know how your interest in music was provoked.
Provoked, yeah. Look, I was quite fortunate to grow up in a musical family with a mother who had ties to the entertainment industry. So with her passion for singing and growing up in a family with a lot of gospel music and secular music as well, I think music for me just opened up a whole world of opportunity, possibility. It was almost like your imagination was taken away by the mathematics and rhythm of sound. So for me, I have to thank my family, and like any passion that we have as humans, we grab it and we make it our own and move forward with it.
That's right. It's interesting how the conditionings of such a young age can have such an impact on our life later and informing our passions and what we're, going to end up pursuing in life. And
exactly.
Yeah. Why do you think electronic music appeals to such a broad spectrum of people?
These days, electronic music is more accessible, more available to people, whether it's a computer in someone's bedroom or whether it's using a digital audio workstation in a studio. I think that when we listen to music, we don't necessarily think that it's been created electronically.
Sure.
For example, do you remember the song The Fear by Lily Allen?
Oh, God, I don't know.
It was a few years ago.
I may have.
Lily Allen, UK artist. That song was produced using a digital audio workstation.
What is that? What's a digital audio workstation for people who don't know?
Yeah. Digital audio workstation, or what we call DAW, is essentially replicates a studio. An actual studio on your computer. So there are multiple different programs like Cubase or Reason, or one of the popular ones, Ableton. You can actually create sound. So whether it be strings or an orchestra or a piano, these programs essentially sample from live instruments and enable you to create that sound sitting behind your PC. So you might not necessarily know how to play the piano or a violin, but you can recreate those sounds using a digital audio workstation.
That's fascinating. So this artist you were talking about?
Lily Allen, yeah.
Lily Allen.
Pop artist from the UK.
Right.
And in 2009, I believe it was, she released a song called The Fear. And that was purely created using Apple's Logic. There was also a bit of Reason. So they're both digital audio workstations.
I've heard of Reason.
Yes, that's the one I use and love.
That's the one you use.
And I think that, these days, especially with modern music, that you can create a beat, you can create a sound at home. And I think electronic music really, it could be an orchestral song, or it could be immediately people might think electronic music, it's got to be doof, doof, doof,
Yeah, absolutely.
A bit of a beat, dance music.
Rave.
It doesn't.
Party.
You can create any genre of sound in a digital audio workstation.
Can you? Right. So, on that note, what is your favourite instrumental sound?
Oh, gosh, I mean, you mentioned my personal sound, which I call industrial emotion. So
explain that.
Dance music. Yeah, I had a dance music background. So, as you mentioned, I worked for a dance music radio station here in Adelaide.
Yes.
I also DJ'd. So, my background was dance music. But I've personally found that over time, I've utilised the strengths of that particular genre and I've combined it with more of an orchestral sound. So, to answer your question, my favourite sound would be strings, it would be piano, and then combining that with tech sounds, so really gritty beats or even not so gritty beats, just having an eclectic mix of sounds that you wouldn't normally think you could combine, but really to create something that is unique unto itself.
Okay, interesting. And so did that evolve for you over the years? Like, is somebody drawn to, is sound something that everybody is drawn to, but there are different sounds that appeal to different people, which is what creates, a different sort of psychology for everybody. You know how music can either enhance your state of being or it can deflate you, right?
It can. You know what? Music is like perfume. If 10 years ago you were hanging out in a certain place and you were wearing a certain smell and don't smell it for a while, the next time you do smell it, instantly all those memories come flooding back.
So true.
And I believe the psychology of sound is the same. Music really does give us the soundtrack to our life. If we're out in the summer down on a beach or even overseas and we hear a song, that these memories are burnt into our brain. So the next time we hear that song or that beat, or even, looking at the psychology of the way that the movie industry uses it, they'll use big orchestral sounds and bangs for certain, fight scenes or moments, or maybe some strings and harps if there's a love scene or a heartbreaking moment. We really do react as humans based on these components. And I believe that music gives us the ability to be able to recall those memories in a really pleasant way as well.
Sure, it does. Like, what is, we sort of covered it, the stimulant to the psychology of sound. The stimulant to the psychology of sound could start from a number of things. It could be a circumstance that you're in. Like, what is the stimulant to the psychology of sound, Jay?
I think the stimulant it's really something that, for me, when I hear stimulant of psychology of sound, if you're ever out in a bar or if you're in a public place and you hear a song come on and you love it, you immediately say, "Oh, I love this song," or "That's my favourite song," and you want to move and want to shake. I think that those moments that are burned into our brain really enable us to be able to utilise, I think, the passion and the love that we have for that music. We don't necessarily see that as being a trigger for us, but it is. It invokes emotion, it invokes a response.
Yeah.
And I think that, sound these days, everyone's different. People might respond better to Marilyn Manson or maybe some punk rock. Others will love bluegrass or maybe some country music or pop music. Whatever it might be, we all have our own particular choice on the sounds that we love. And I think, just knowing what we do like as humans, that's kind of the stimulant as well.
How do you start writing music? What's inspires you?
Yeah, look, I'll make it a little bit personal because I know that you're going to play one of my songs shortly.
Yes, we are. Let's go there.
Let's go there. So for me, I went, as you mentioned, I'm Lithuanian, German, Scottish, and I went to Lithuania for the first time. Had always wanted to go. And while I was there, I was actually looking at an AV display of the town Vilnius, which is their capital city, and old pictures about how it was, 100 years ago, and just looking at the history. Accompanied with that presentation, there was this beautiful violin piece that was playing in the background. So I came home after my holiday and was sitting there one day just in front of my digital audio workstation playing with violins. And for me, as a creative soul, I can't say where it comes from, but there is this energy that just kind of overtakes you. And as a creative person, you then pour that out. So I write that down as music. I've got my keyboard. I'll play it freehand. And then it's simply just a matter of then working on it, composing the structure, making sure that you have a beautiful sound that's not so repetitive, which I think is a danger of electronic music these days, and ended up coming out with what you'll hear shortly is a beautiful orchestral piece. created completely electronically. So while it sounds like there's an orchestra there, it was just me sitting at my Mac.
That's so beautiful. I actually have heard it, but I can't wait to play it for our listeners. That's okay. Where do you personally see the music industry headed over the next 5 to 10 years? Or not just the music, let's say the electronic music industry.
Yeah, look, electronic music, it's really accessible to anyone and everyone these days.
Because how much sound can you create that's variable?
You're really unlimited. I mean, you're only really limited by your creativity and your imagination.
Yeah.
So if you want to create a big bass drop, or if you want to have lovely little high piano tingles, or maybe even a harmonica, or you want some really gritty guitar, you're only limited by the imagination that you have. And especially with advancements in technology of computing power, plus that each year every digital audio workstation adds more features.
Yes.
Then the possibility of having music come from people who are not necessarily signed artists, but have that unique way of telling a story through sound. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, especially artists like Flume. Absolutely amazingly talented guy as an electronic music artist. Originally started out just playing for himself. It was like his own home soul.
Yeah.
I think there are other factors too, such as festivals. Especially in New South Wales, there's questions about the legitimacy of festivals. Also the state of the lockout laws. Thankfully, that's now been. There's plans to remove that.
Yes.
I think that really stifled a lot of the music industry in general, especially live music, by preventing people from going out and enjoying their bands or enjoying things like that.
Yeah.
So in the next 5-10 years, I think to summarise, I think we'll see a lot more music come out from Australian artists. I think we will see a lot more become more prominent, especially for those people who remix or release independently. And hopefully with the changes in New South Wales to lockout laws and festivals, that we'll actually see more festivals, safer festivals come about.
Yes.
Allowing people to actually get out there and enjoy what they should be doing anyway.
Enjoying the music and enjoying life.
Exactly.
So, on the festivals thing, because there has been a bit of, media attention drawn to those festivals, what type of an effect do you think pill testing and pat downs will have on the electronic music scene in New South Wales?
I'm all for having a safe environment for everybody.
Yes.
I believe that, this is a pretty touchy subject. Let's start with the pill testing. So yes. I think if people are able to, I don't think you're going to stop the drugs completely, but I think if you're able to give people the option to be educated and informed about potentially what is going to impact them at a festival or at a live event, then I'm all for it. I'm not pro-drug use. I believe that we should be making education more readily available to people who do choose to do those things. Having said that, if you do choose to do it and get caught, it's your own damn fault.
Yeah.
As for pat downs, gosh, that's quite interesting too, especially with the revelations today that there has been an excessive amount of unlawful pat downs on underage females.
Oh my goodness, I know.
Quite distressing.
That is.
While I understand that the police are doing their job and they're trying to create
a safer environment. Yep.
Exactly.
For everyone.
They also need to be the champions of that safe environment. So, until our guardians are able to fix their house, I think pat downs are probably going to have a little bit of a bad rap for the time being. But, if you go to the airport and you go through security, that potentially you're going to be patted down.
Oh, it's happened to me before. I was so excited, Woohoo, it's my lucky day. Woohoo, don't be jealous.
Jokes. I see the extra frequent flyer points if you touch me. But, but essentially, if you're going to these places, you need to be aware that there'll be dogs. You may get a pat down.
That's right.
You may be questioned by police. So
it's just normal. It's just so standard. And this is how it's becoming with music festivals. It's almost, not even a question of worry or concern for anybody anymore. If you're going to, be doing these activities in music festivals, you're probably going to get a pat down and take the pill testing option perhaps. Just at least know what you're taking, right?
Well, yeah, and this is where it gets a bit touchy too, because you want to make sure that you're okay. You're not going to stop it, but if we can provide people with the education to be able to test their stuff, or even to make a decision about, you know what, I'm actually not going to take it, I don't need it to enjoy it, then that's fine as well.
That's right, exactly. Hey, so who is your biggest, but just before you go, because we're almost out of time, who's your biggest influence in the Australian music scene?
Right now,
I
would. I've actually got a couple. I would have to say X, who is an amazing artist from New South Wales, now based overseas. Fantastic music, love. I feel like there is a soul connection as a producer and as an artist to him. And more from a live music point of view, I would have to say Lanks. A beautiful artist from Melbourne who is now collaborating with his group called OK Moon. Beautiful, modern, touching music that really has the essence of soul behind it. So
sounds lovely.
We have some amazing talent here in Australia, and I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen.
Yeah, Jase, look, if people would like to get in touch with you for anything to do with electronic music or voiceovers, how can they reach you?
Yeah, look, you can visit my website, which is www.jasess, that's jasess.com. There's a contact form on there. I've got music on there. There's also, I do a little bit of acting on the side, so there's some show reels. But any questions that you have about electronic music production, I'd be more than happy to answer via my website.
Thanks very much, Jase. And can you please introduce this next track, which is one of your tracks?
With pleasure. Thank you for joining us here on Radioactive 2RRR FM. This is Jase Ess and my new track, Vilnius.
Thanks, Jase. Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, darling.
Triple R.